Baba is today talking about fortune, and most people in the world believe that fortune is prefixed, and they believe that everybody comes with a fortune and then you can't change it. And Baba says, yes, although every soul's part is fixed, but then we change from the most fortunate in Satyug to the most unfortunate in Kalyug. And then in Kalyug, Baba comes and teaches us how to change our fortune. So Baba says that yes, there isn't an opportunity to change your fortune from Satyug to Kalyug, but at the end of Kalyug, when the bestower of fortune comes, then there is an opportunity to create the fortune that we want for ourselves. And Baba has now come, and Baba is teaching us how to change from the most unfortunate to the most fortunate. And when we think about these words, unfortunate and fortunate, then we must think about what these words imply. So, most people have very subjective definitions of what is unfortunate and what is fortunate. Some days back I was talking to somebody and they were telling me that they think that somebody who is unmarried is most unfortunate. And they said that, it's a very big misfortune if somebody stays single and they don't get married. And then I asked him, what have you, okay, so that's your opinion, but what have you come here for? So then he said, my son is having differences of opinion with his wife in his marriage, and I wanted to talk about whether he should go for a divorce or not. So then on the one hand he's saying that the most unfortunate is those who are not married, and then he is talking about whether his son should get divorced. So then I pointed out that, do you want your son to change from fortunate to unfortunate? So then he said, no, now I think that my son is unfortunate because he's married to this girl, but if he marries somebody else, then maybe he'll be fortunate. So now you see that people have various definitions of fortune and misfortune. And then there's somebody, I remember one episode when there was a brother, he came and he said that my wife left home and I have to take care of the kids and I have a big business to run and I'm facing difficulties. So I think, it's very difficult for me, and I think that, something's wrong with my stars. So could you do something to help me get my wife back? So then I said, just send her good wishes, don't have any malice in your heart, and whenever there's an opportunity, just talk. So then the wife came back after some time. But then, after that, his business suffered some losses. And then he came and asked me, Didi, do you think it's possible that one misfortune changed into another? So because I tried to bring my wife back, so that's why that misfortune transferred to my business, and now my business is suffering losses. So I said, why do you want an answer to this? So he said, if it is so, I want her to go back and my business to run well. So now you do something to send her back so that my business is on track. So I said, I don't know if there is such a scheme here, but okay, if you are thinking about it, probably that will happen. But I said, just like the first time, whatever decision you took, you are regretting it now. So what makes you think you will not regret this decision in the future? So then he said, I don't know, but right now I want her to go back and my business to do well. So you see, there are so many. Why I'm giving these examples is I just want you to think about yourself. What is your idea of fortune and misfortune? And then Baba says that some people think that, having money is fortune. Some people think that, okay, even if there's not enough money, it's okay. But children should do well. They should be, educated, and they should be ethical, and they should have values. So many people attach different meanings to fortune and unfortune. But Baba tells us that all this is just, the human intellect working. But when it comes to Baba, he says fortune and misfortune is very clear. When you are in Satyug, when you are Suryavanshi, then you have everything. You have health, wealth, happiness, good relationships, and that is fortune. That is called a fortunate world. But here in Kali Yuga, nobody can be called fortunate because you have one thing and you don't have the other. And then whatever you have, by just showing gratitude, you think that, okay, I'm fortunate. But actually nobody is fortunate enough right now because nobody has everything. But in Satyug, you have everything. And Baba says this is the time to change from fortunate to unfortunate, from unfortunate to fortunate. And how do you do that? So Baba says there's a very simple method. The one whose everything Baba accepts becomes fortunate. So if Baba accepts your everything, then you become fortunate. Now what does this mean? So you see that Baba is the bestower of fortune, and Baba doesn't give anything free. Baba gives it in exchange. And when you surrender the old, you get the new. That's the law with Baba. If you don't surrender the old, you cannot get the new. And I remember many years back, I had seen a very beautiful picture where God is shown as a human being, and there's a little child, and he has mud in his fist. He's just clenching on to that mud and he's hiding it. And God has so many gifts for him, and then he's not freeing his hand from the mud, and so God cannot give him the gifts. And Baba says similar is our condition. If we keep holding on to whatever misfortune we have right now, then Baba cannot give us a fortune in return. And what does holding on to mean? It means attachment. So, do you know that we only waste and we only create misfortune out of that which we are attached to? So, the interesting thing is, when you are attached to something And since we souls are not, we are not in our best state, so the kind of intellect we have, it just makes whatever we are attached to worse. And if I want to prove this point, I'll ask you just one question. What do you take better care of? That which you are attached to, or that which you are a trustee of? Yes, so let's say somebody gives you something and says, just, take care of it and return it when I come back. And then you have something that you call your own. Which one would you take greater care of? Obviously the first one, because we only spoil and waste and what do you say, we lose whatever we are attached to. And the interesting thing is, we beat and shout at people who we are attached to, but we are very well behaved with others. Yes, and I remember there was this one person, and he used to beat his wife and insult her in front of everybody. And then when I asked him, why does he do that? So then he said, can't you, so when you love somebody, you are allowed to do all of this. So then I said, this love is very costly. So better, nobody loves anybody this way. That's a better option. So you see, we take these liberties of wasting, abusing, of causing pain and sorrow, or of spoiling something that we think we are attached to. And Baba says that as are you, as it is your intellect, so will be your karma towards that which you are attached to. So the best method to create a fortune out of whatever you have is to surrender it to Baba. And you see, the first thing that Baba asks us to surrender is the mind and buddhi. And you see, when we think this is my mind, so you're thinking whatever thoughts, whatever, thoughts of lust, anger, everything you're allowing in your mind. But when you think that, this mind is not mine, I've surrendered it to Baba, and it is only allowed to think that which Baba allows to think, then you can create your fortune through the thoughts you think. If you surrender your buddhi, now what is surrender of buddhi called? What does it look like? So the buddhi has its own dictates, your buddhi makes choices, takes decisions. And when you say this is my decision, my choice, and when you surrender your intellect, your buddhi, and you do everything, you choose everything, you decide in a manner that Baba asks you to. So, your choices and decisions are not about what your intellect dictates, but your choices and decisions are that which Baba asks you to make. So let's say, you are going to sleep at 12 at night, and it got late because of some reason. Then what does your intellect say? Your intellect says that 6 hours or 8 hours of sleep is very important. So skip Amrit Vela, and then you will be fresh all day. And then your intellect will also entice you by saying that then you will be able to remember Baba better, because you have had a good sleep and rest, and you have a functional intellect. But then what does Baba say? Baba says, no, get up at 4 and remember me. that's what will give power to your intellect. So if you have surrendered your intellect, then your choice, your dictate will not overpower what Baba says. And I'll tell you something that I practice personally. So whenever my mind is not, it's confused or it's struggling with something, then what my intellect says is just distract it. Go somewhere, talk to somebody. My intellect would say just distract your mind and then you will be fine. But then Baba says that when your mind is not in its best place, then just remember Baba or churn knowledge or speak about knowledge, and I do that. So even when I'm very confused or my mind is not okay, I will try writing the points of the Murli, or I will try, if it's a seva, if a class has to be taken, I prepare for the class, I take the class, and then I become fine. So Baba says that your intellect will also always ask you to make certain choices, take certain decisions in certain situations, but don't listen to that intellect. Surrender your intellect. And then you see, Baba says, surrender your time. What does surrender your time mean? Follow my timetable. Follow my timetable. So people have a timetable. So some people have a timetable that you have to read the newspaper first thing in the morning. But Baba says, no, surrender your time to me. Even if you want to read the newspaper, have that later in the day, maybe in the afternoon, not closer to the night, not early in the morning. So Baba says, make your timetable according to the godly timetable that I have given you. So Baba says, just like this, surrender everything to Baba. Your body, your mind, your wealth, your relationships. So the human intellect tells you that your relationships will work better if you're very attached, if you're very, if you're very engaged and you're very, what do we say? If there is a lot of chipapan, what do you say? If you're, all over each other, that is how relationships work better. But Baba says, no, I tell you that be detached and loving in relationships. Don't be attached and loving. Be first detached. Know that all your relationships are with Baba. And then within every relationship, be very loveful and caring. So Baba says, surrender everything to me. And when you surrender everything to Baba, when you surrender, and when it comes to money, so Baba doesn't say, give me all your money. But Baba says that use your money for seva and make sure that you don't waste any penny, because whatever you waste, you will have to pay back for it. Even if you say it's my money, but the account of waste is very powerful. Have you seen that if I ask you, you actually remember how much money you wasted where all your life? And I remember there was a brother, he told me that, sister, I have spent 50 lakhs at a time, but I don't remember all my expenses. But there was this one time when somebody just impressed me and then they duped me into spending 25,000. And because I regretted it later, I remember it until now. And he said, I remember all those episodes in my life when I wasted money, or because I was not in my best senses, somebody cheated me and that money got wasted. And he said the total of it is 5 lakhs until now. And he said, I have earned so much, I've spent so much, but this 5 lakhs, I cannot get it out of my head. And I always think, this 5 lakhs got wasted. And this is weighing heavy on my heart. And you see, that is the account of waste. Whatever you waste will always create a weight, it will create a burden in your heart, and that burden we will carry with yourself. So Baba says, never waste money. Always use it for productive purposes, and then use some portion of it for Baba's seva also. And even if, and Baba says, surrender everything. So at least never use any penny on something that Baba doesn't allow you to use it for. So Baba says, in this way, surrender everything. And Baba says, those children whose everything Baba accepts. So there is a this thing that Baba should accept also. Now before going to that, let me share one experience from my life. So when I was studying and working, I used to think that I'm very intelligent. And then there was this one brother. So he once told me that you are a fool. And then I felt very offended, and I said, how can you say I'm a fool? I'm very intelligent. So then he said, that which doesn't come to God's use is all wasted. And then that thing, I don't know whether it hurt my ego or what, but I couldn't forget it. And from that day, I started thinking about, what is this thing about God using my intellect or intelligence? And then, probably those thoughts created this whole drama. And then I came into Gyan. And then when Baba used everything, then I felt that yes, it created fortune. Because, when I had a lot of ego of the intellect, all I created was enemies. And all I created was, people who would be jealous, and because, you sometimes, or you don't know also, but you rub people the wrong way, because you just, you are yourself, and then people get offended because of that. But when I came to Gyan, then, I think when Baba used the intellect, then only this intellect started filling with power, and then this intellect started creating good karma. And then I had discernment that, I have to use this intellect to make somebody happy and give something to somebody. So I'm saying this from my own experience, that only when Baba accepts something, then it becomes a method to create fortune. Otherwise, whatever you have, you see, those who don't have anything don't create misfortune also. It is those who have everything, they create misfortune, because they don't surrender it to Baba's directions, and then obviously they do everything on the directions of Maya, and that creates misfortune. Now, what is this aspect of, Baba accepting everything? So, whatever I understand until now, I'll share with you. So, first thing is that Baba accepts something when you offer it with humility. When you have a lot of I and my attached to something, then even if you use it for seva, but that arrogance that you have, that makes sure that Baba doesn't accept it. And you see, I have seen that there are many children who do seva but no happiness. But if Baba is accepting your seva, that means Baba will never take something and not give you something. And when Baba accepts something, you will have a lot of happiness when you do seva. But why no happiness? Because you're doing it with arrogance. So, although you're doing something, you don't do it with humility. You don't understand that everything actually belongs to Baba, then it doesn't get accepted. Then, second thing is doing something at the right time. So, when there is a need, then you do something, then it will get accepted. I'll give you one example. So, when there was demonetization, at that time, there was a brother who couldn't change all his currency because he had a lot of cash at home, and he couldn't manage to change all of it into, money, white money. So he came to the center and he told me that I want to donate something. And so I said, what do you want to donate? So he said, such and such an amount. So I said, you may donate, but God will not accept it. So he said, what does that mean? So he said, because you're not giving it because God asked you to, or, because it's required. You're giving it because it's of no use to you right now. And God doesn't accept this kind of an offering, so it's up to you. God is not accepting. You give it, you don't give it, you burn it, you throw it. It's all the same. So why I'm sharing this with you is because you see, when you do something when Baba asks you to, then Baba accepts it. When you do something because there are some other reasons, then that is not accepted. So, and then you see, Baba also says that there will be a time when Baba will stop accepting anything. Because as we come closer to Vinash, then Baba knows that whatever you do or whatever you offer cannot be put to use, because at that time there will be no seva. So the time when seva is going on, that's the time when you do something on Baba's directions, then that will be accepted. So Baba says that those whose everything Baba accepts, they are the ones who become very fortunate. And this is the only time to change from misfortune to fortune. So we have to understand this method and create a fortune for ourselves. And then you see, Baba gives us the direction. Baba gives us many directions today, which are directions for dharana, that which we should imbibe in day-to-day life. So first direction is, whenever you have food, first offer it to Baba and then eat it in Baba's remembrance. It's because Baba says, if you don't remember me and have food, then Maya will eat that food. And let me tell you, there's a very interesting thing about food, that the thoughts in which you eat food, they become part of your system. It's like you're filling that food with the vibrations of those thoughts, and that food is going and entering your system. So that thought is also entering your system. And when you are not consciously in remembrance of Baba when you're eating food, then what happens is you are in other worldly thoughts, maybe vicious, maybe wasteful, And then those thoughts gain a lot of power when you eat your food in these thoughts. And there is a practice these days of watching something on the screen and then eating. And whatever you're watching on the screen, that's becoming part of your destiny as you eat when you watch it. And just think about the content you're watching, maybe violence, maybe something else, and all that is becoming part of your destiny. And although we don't understand these intricacies, these spiritual reasons, but if you understand it and pay heed to it, then you will be able to change this whole dynamic by eating in Baba's remembrance. And Baba says, always remember, I am your bridegroom, I am your parent, I am the provider, and you are not allowed to eat without me. And Baba says, although from knowledge you know that Baba only takes the fragrance of the food, Baba doesn't eat it, but you have to welcome Baba and call him and make him sit with you and offer him before you eat. And then you eat in Baba's remembrance. And then Baba says, everything you eat, it's not just that when you ate the khichdi you remembered Baba, but when you ate the sweet you forgot Baba. So Baba says, everything you eat, just first remember me and then eat it. This is one direction. Second direction is, Baba says that you just don't have to be, when you are doing karma also, just don't think that your day is divided between yoga and karma, and when you are doing yoga, you're doing yoga, and when you're doing karma, you're doing karma. No. Baba says, be like a tortoise. And what does the tortoise do? In the middle of, when he eats everything and he just goes inside. So Baba says, in the middle of the karma, sometimes just go inside like the turtle and go within, go up, connect with me, charge yourself and come back. So Baba says, this you do in the middle of the karma. Second thing Baba says, while you're doing something, there are many actions that you do which do not require a lot of intellect use. Yes, you don't have to think about it a lot, or you don't have to use your intellect a lot. Then you use your intellect in churning points of knowledge at that time. Because if you don't do that, then you become very karam conscious. And then when you go to bed at night, then still you will be thinking about all the thoughts associated with your occupation. So, while being in your occupation, while doing the work you are doing, take some time to remember Baba, go within, remember Baba, and also take out time to churn the points of knowledge so that your karma is out there, not in here. Yes, just like you give the example of a boat. The boat has to float in water, but the water doesn't have to enter the boat, otherwise it will sink. So Baba says, you do karma, don't enter that karma, don't allow that karma enter your head. Because if it enters your head, then it occupies your mind space, it occupies all your mental faculties, and then it consumes you totally. So refrain from that. And then Baba says, just like a buzzing moth buzzes and creates the insects similar to them itself, so it buzzes and it changes the insects and makes them like itself. Similarly, you also keep buzzing this knowledge whenever you get an opportunity. So, even if you are in an official setting, if you ask me, there are no personal solutions to personal problems. or professional solutions to professional problems. There are only spiritual solutions to every problem. And if you take the opportunity to share some points of spirituality with everybody, then you're like a buzzing moth, creating, your account of charity, your account of punya karma, of seva, as you go about your occupation. So these are also some directions that we should pay attention to while going about our day-to-day lives. Okay, Om Shanti.